Hey students, how are we all doing today? My name is Lisa Scott and I am going to be your psychology tutor for the rest of the year. I am going to make this class as fun as possible. As you all can tell, I am a good-looking, intelligent woman. All I ask of you is to listen and ask questions throughout the year. All right lads and lassies, let's begin. I am going to explain a little about Lev Vygotsk's history and a little about his background. He was born on the 5th of November in 1896 in a small Russian town called Orsha. As a child, Vygotsky was taught by his mother to care for other children. Vygotsky's new approach to psychology can be traced to both his socio-cultural context and his genius-like skills of observation and knowledge integration. Vygotsky's experience of living in Russia before, during and after the revolution must be taken into consideration that the revolution had impacted on his perspective on life. Vygotsky is a cognitive theorist, but he is sometimes described as a socio-cultural theorist. This is because he emphasized the role of others in the development of learning. Unlike Piaget, Vygotsky believed that social interactions were of particular influence in the learning of a child, as was their wider society, and it is this emphasis that has led to him being described as a socio-cultural theorist. At first, children have private speech where they speak through each action. It serves as a plan which helps to improve cognitively. These children are more attentive. Language is an important basic for development. At the age of 7, private speech is internalized and social speech begins. Children have use of speech and now listen and respond. They have a better skills to remember, solve problems, and no longer need to speak out loud to complete a task. The child's inner speech has development. Vygotsky states that culture plays a huge role in cognitive development. The interpersonal level is where culture meets the individual. It is at this stage that Vygotsky made his major contribution. The ability to think and reason by and for ourselves is the result of a fundamentally social process. The example of a child pointing is useful. At first, the baby is pointing in no particular direction. As the baby grows, he becomes successful at his pointing gestures, in which the parents get what he is pointing for. Vygotsky believed children's thinking is affected by their knowledge of the social community. He said that language is the most important tool for gaining this social knowledge. Vygotsky categorized our mental functions as higher and lower mental function. Through theories, he said cognitive or psychological abilities, either higher or elementary functions. Elementary functions is also known as lower mental functions. These are abilities that we are born with that naturally develop over the years. Vygotsky refers to them as attention, sensation, perception and memory. These would also include behavioral functions at a young age. Higher mental functions are developed by interaction. When children interact with other children, they begin to learn from each other and copy what the next one is doing. Mediation is one of the fundamental mechanisms of human development. Mediation overlaps and complements scaffolding in many ways. Mediation is composed of two components. Mediation is defined as the use of tools in socially organized activity. Higher mental processes are mediated by tools, being symbols, material or another human being's behavior. Firstly, individuals use language and physical signs to change social relations in psychological functions between their minds and their environment. Secondly, higher intellectual progression actually uses symbolic mediation. When a human ties a knot in a rope, this acts as a reminder, therefore constructing the process of forcing an external object to remember an external activity. Every function in the child's cultural development appears twice, first, on the social level and then in the individual level, first, between people and then inside the child. Constructivism is the label given to a set of theories about learning which falls somewhere between cognitive and humanistic views. If behaviorism treats the organism as a black box, cognitive theory recognizes the importance of the mind in making sense of the material with which it is presented. Nevertheless, it still says that the role of the learner is primarily to assimilate whatever the teacher presents. It suggests that the learner is much more actively involved in a joint enterprise with the teacher of creating new meaning. Constructivism is an epistemological belief about what knowing is and how one come to know. It believes in individual interpretations of the reality,